Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us. This is a lunch and learn that is presented to you by family partners of Morris and Sussex counties. This is your host, Patricia Houston, and I'm here with our special guest, Annmarie Shafer from the Center for Prevention and Counseling. And today, Annmarie is going to discuss all the services and resources that they utilize. So welcome, Annmarie, and thank you very much for being here with us.
Thank you, Patricia. Hi, everybody.
Hi, and thank you very much for being with us. So, Annmarie, we're going to start first. Would you please go over, if you can kind of go over about yourself, the Center for Prevention and all of that, so like that everyone here have better understanding about, who you are and all of that.
Sure. I've been working at the Center for Prevention and Counseling for about 10 years now. I've been a resident of Sussex County since 1987 and began volunteering with the center probably around 2009 as a member of their Coalition for Healthy and Safe Communities. So the coalition is still in existence, and that is a coalition that meets monthly at our agency, now virtually, but they welcome community members who want to learn more about keeping neighborhoods alcohol and other drug-free. And our agency has overseen the coalition, like I said, for about 25 years. I also became involved with the local advisory council on drug and alcohol abuse. Actually, that's where I met Rachel, LACADA, since about 2010. LACADA is a public council that also is open to the public. Right now, both substance use and mental health we address. We address the funding that we receive in the county for substance use disorders for people that do not have money to pay for those services, as well as address prevention and wellness initiatives for community members in regards to drug prevention. But I would say my interest in family recovery began when a close family member, my brother, entered treatment in 1985 or 86, I forget. And we attended a family program back then. And then afterwards, myself and other members of our family became very interested in being part of the solution to addiction as family members, and realized that we all did benefit from learning more and taking into account our own roles in the recovery that my brother was actually entering. So in the fall of 2017 actually was when the center added recovery as a pillar to our agency. Prior to the fall of 2017, we were prevention and counseling. And since 2017, I've led the recovery support pillar as the director.
Great, thank you very much. Awesome. So why exactly is the Center for Prevention and Counseling?
The Center for Prevention and Counseling has been in Sussex County we're working close toward our 50th year in a couple of years that we've been in the county. It began as a clearinghouse for information on local recovery support meetings. So it was just a few people who knew that it'd be helpful to have a place to have meeting booklets, meeting information, local 12-step meetings, actually. A few people from local 12-step meetings got together, started to organize brochures and flyers, and it actually grew from there to add prevention and a staff. And right now we do have, I think, over 50 employees. And like I said, we have what we call 3 pillars: prevention, counseling or treatment, and recovery. And we go out in schools with our prevention team right now virtually, some in person, and they work on adolescent prevention initiatives. We offer events and programs to support parents, healthy parenting. And I should back up and mention that most all of our services are grant funded, so they are free to the community. There is very rarely a payment associated with any of our services. There's a few that we do access funding to present, but for the most part, These are all services that are free and available to Sussex County residents. So our prevention team works not only with adolescents and parents, but also with seniors, older
Mhm.
adults, and initiatives and programs that help older adults. The counseling division of our agency helps people who are looking to address alcohol and other drug issues. And people can self-refer, they can call. We get referrals from the courts, we get referrals from recovery court. We are based solely on Medicaid and people who are underinsured or uninsured. So we do not accept private insurance here, but we can accept people who want to self-pay if they'd like to self-pay on a sliding scale fee based on their income. And those counseling services include outpatient, intensive outpatient, anger management, individual counseling, and adolescent counseling. So depending on the level of care needed when someone is facing alcohol or other drug use, they can call our office. We have an intake coordinator who will welcome them, take a lot of information, see where they fit, what they've been maybe suggested to do, and we help place them within the right program for their alcohol or other drug treatment. We do not have inpatient. I like to make that clear. There is no inpatient facility. It's all outpatient. And our services right now, some are virtual and some are in person. So our daytime IOP is in person. Our evening IOP is virtual. And we'll work to figure out which is the best schedule for someone with counseling and those services. The additional is recovery supports. And with recovery supports, that's why I put it in the chat. We have a recovery community center located just a few miles down away from our 61 Spring Street location, where they have a staff of recovery support, trained recovery support coaches who welcome people to walk in, drop in. When you're trying to figure out whether you have a problem or whether a loved one has a problem, it's not always easy to do that on your own. So doing that with trained professionals and having information right at your fingertips available to sit down and have a comfortable conversation with one of our recovery coaches is usually a better way to address substance use. So we welcome people there. There's meetings ongoing throughout the week and in the evenings. Some of the meetings are hosted by staff, some are hosted by the recovery community. We offer NA, AA, Smart Recovery, Smart Family and Friends Recovery, All Recovery. There's a Moms in Recovery meeting. I'm probably missing some, but there's a variety. And actually the best way for you to stay, the best way if you are on social media to stay advised of our services is from our social media sites, our Instagram and Facebook pages. That would be at CFPCNJ or at Sussex County Recovery. So I feel like I'm really sounding like a commercial right now, but.
No, it's good. I'm sure families are going to be happy to learn about all the information and contact information, all of that. So that information is great. So let's go back. What are your core services? Because I know sometimes families, they might get confused, like, okay, what type of services? Because sometimes there's a breadth of services. So we want to make sure families know exactly, what type of services you guys have available for them. Like, are your core services?
So I kind of reviewed most of them, but I would say, so substance use counseling for anyone seeking help for substance use, trying to figure out that as well with our recovery support staff. The prevention work that we do is very core to our services, and our prevention team assists, like I said, parents and schools and adolescents in living a drug-free lifestyle. We do have a plethora of programs under prevention that assist the community in staying drug-free. And volunteer opportunities as well. So for anyone trying to figure out a loved one or their own substance use, you'll find a friendly voice over here at Center for Prevention and Counseling to talk about what they might need yet next.
Okay. And the other day we were talking about the teen approach and all of that. Would you please define what exactly a teen approach for recovery is so families can understand?
Sure. So many times the stigma associated with someone with an alcohol or other drug problem leads families to hide or not know really where to turn, or kind of hope that it just resolves on its own through perhaps the way they've historically dealt with substance use with other family members, and maybe they've seen people maybe drink alcohol too much but then they stopped, so they, and even with adolescents, I often say, like, kids, they don't come with that instruction manual. So, and top that with the stigma associated with getting help for mental illness or substance use, we may really sometimes struggle to get help initially, and maybe not want to intervene too soon, hoping that it does resolve on its own and that everybody starts, you know, taking life in a better direction. But we really do encourage to take a team approach to this, because oftentimes there's a team approach taken to hiding what's going on. And you may see, like, we'll take an adolescent for instance, like maybe he's a great, I'm going to say a she, maybe she's a great student and always done really well, favorite teachers, but she starts to slip in her work. Maybe she's started drinking or using other drugs, and the teacher doesn't really want to come down on her for late assignments, and so she's going to kind of work with that student to get by. At the same time, maybe that soccer coach of that same young girl is also doesn't want her star kicker to be on the sidelines because she's missing grades. So she's going to talk with the teacher. Nobody's going to tell anybody what's going on, but they're going to let her slide a little bit. And then maybe at home, her parents notice, but they really don't want to say anything. Or maybe a brother or a sibling doesn't want to bother the parents about what he thinks might be going on. So there's sort of a team approach sometimes to covering it up and not paying, not wanting to admit. So when it comes to recovery, I really, and even let's say I had the medical professionals in there who sometimes are very not versed in talking about it or knowing how to talk to people about it, parents, spouses, anybody. And it's no fault of their own. They really oftentimes do not get, in the past, a lot of school and information educationally on addiction. It's buried inside psychology, very, short chapter. So when it comes to recovery, I like to think that a team approach is really necessary to unravel what's going on and stay on top of and be part of this system that helps that person recover, because they're going against a lot. They themselves, something's going on that they're using. Something is they're uncomfortable about, really, or maybe it's just a way to fit in for young people, or anxiety for an older person. And it works in the beginning, perhaps. A little bit of alcohol maybe works. Maybe smoking pot with their friends, they feel like they have a friend group. So we have to remember that there's a benefit. There are benefits in the beginning when people do pick up, or at least they think they are benefits. So our job as the people around them, whether we're parents or clinicians or primary care physicians or teachers or counselors, is to help them understand the benefits of not using and to maybe address how we can turn that around together, and that they're not bad people for what they're doing, and provide positive communication and reminding the person about the good things that they're doing and that they can do to help turn the tide and help them want to talk about it versus
Mhm.
everyone hiding it, because when everybody hides it, nobody's talking about it, but kind of everybody knows
Yeah.
something's going on that's just not right.
Right, right. That's good that you clarify that. And I know we are in here, like I have some questions. Probably some of the providers in here, they might know the answer, but I want to make sure that I ask those questions so families can also get that information from you. So who can benefit from your services?
So anyone that is a Sussex County resident can benefit from our services.
Mhm.
We do also help direct people who are not in our county and maybe not eligible. We direct them to the appropriate outside county services that are similar to ours in the state or other states, you know, because we really are close to New York and PA. So we can definitely help people find what works for them outside of the county. But it depends also. So for our recovery support services, we do assist mainly adults.
Mhm.
For counseling services, it's adolescents and adults. And for prevention services, it's also adolescents and adults.
Okay. And how family can access your services?
Simply calling or emailing, messaging us on social media, we'll take all those referrals. Our website is really helpful. If you go to our website at centerforprevention.org, there are links right in there where you can refer yourself or others to recovery support services. But if you are looking for counseling, you'd want to call our main office to find out initially whether or not you would be appropriate. And backing up our services as far as counseling, we do address what is called co-occurring issues. That would be someone with mental illness and substance use. We do treat mild to moderate co-occurring. So if the person's mental illness was more severe, we don't have a psychiatrist on staff. So that's important to know. Our services would be for mild to moderate mental illness. When it is more serious, we do refer to the psychiatric professionals in the community. So that's important to know.
Yeah, that's good to clarify that for sure. Thank you.
And we also have, I put it in the chat, the CLEAR number. That's a specific line to Sussex County for any kind of addiction help.
And that information is there. Okay, that's good to know then. So, what type of strategies or tips can you provide to those that are in the process or are in this journey for the recovery?
Sure. So I would encourage loved ones, if you're helping someone, I would encourage you to remain curious. That's like my favorite word, is to stay curious versus being the police and the finder of all things wrong. Notice and catch your loved one doing things right. Like see with a different lens, because what happens often is we tend to only see what they're doing wrong because we're so full of fear for them failing, because we know how dangerous drugs and alcohol can be. So we tend to only see what they're doing wrong and point that out when we see it. So we really do have to switch our lens and be more curious about what they're doing right and bring that up. So they know they're supported still by you, by us, that you're not in the corner waiting for them to fail again and point it out, so that, they know that you're still on their side. I think that happens a lot, where people who may be struggling with alcohol or other drug use, they're ashamed of the use, they're unhappy with themselves, and at a certain point don't know where to turn themselves. So if we, as their closest advocates, also turn into, looking for everything wrong, they may not feel comfortable telling us the truth or telling us what's going on. You really want people to be able to tell you so that you can have a conversation and help them work it out. And then direct them and refer them to the professional resources that are out there and let them know they're not alone and that they're not a bad person for doing what they're doing, that you understand or that you may not understand, and that you may, admitting your own downfalls, admitting that your handling of their use may not have always you may not have always known what you're doing in the process, goes a huge long way with them, because they may be looking at you or us as like, they do everything right, I can't do anything right, I'm such a failure, all I do is drink. But they don't know that, you realize they're just like you inside. Everyone has those feelings over different things, but to kind of be curious, be kind, and supportive.
That's great to know. And I really like when you say for them to know that they are not alone, because sometimes, people might think they are alone or they are afraid to reach out for support. So it's important for families and everybody out there to know that there are resources and that they are not alone in this process. And the contact information is in there for them to know where to contact.
That is exactly why I call it a team approach, because I often ask people when they first come in who are struggling, like, who's on your team? Who is still on your team? And it's wonderful when we hear people say, well, my mother is still supportive. And I do think that oftentimes siblings kind of fall away, almost afraid to, and even parents are protective of other siblings. But once the parents get knowledge and education and resources and feel more comfortable talking about it, keeping those siblings closer to and aware of and being able to talk about it really benefits everybody in the family moving forward.
Great, thank you. What about, can you please talk about the statement, all of us can benefit to know where families can fit in the recovery process?
Mhm. Yeah, so family and friends, counselors, doctors, loved ones, children, everyone can play a part. And when I say that everyone can benefit, there's a wonderful process when people do recover and go through recovery. It's sort of like post-traumatic growth. And people who recover experience that post-traumatic growth where they actually become even more of the human being they were meant to become had they never gone through addiction to begin with. And to see them do that as a family member, you also have that opportunity of the gift of recovery as well, to grow with them and along with them and learn more through recovery yourself. And although you're not perhaps addressing your own substance use, other things that really can benefit your life, just learning more about, because recovery is about paying attention to yourself, self-care, knowing when to make amends, knowing how to be a good person, knowing how to be a better person. So if the person in recovery is the only one doing that, then the family kind of, they lose out on that, also on that opportunity. But also that, you know, just having community around. And if your family and your friends, those are your community, they benefit, you benefit, and being part of that process only can enhance the person and the family system or the relationship better. And as far as counselors and doctors, they have their own, potential to influence the person and benefit, and learn how to help other patients that might be struggling by becoming more knowledgeable and educated on the process.
Right. Thank you very much for that information. Another important question I have in here is, are these services confidential or HIPAA compliant? Because I know, sometimes people, they want to know, yeah.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Any of the phone calls to our navigation line, our clear number, our helpline, these are all confidential anytime someone calls. We have, we are all trained professionals, and
Mhm.
we, regard HIPAA laws, and confidentiality is actually something that is we're trained on and we're retrained on. So that's
Okay,
important. We know that's very important for people to want to get help.
of course. Yeah, yeah. That's
So,
good.
however, if someone is referred from their drug court or their recovery court professional or their probation officer or their DCP&P worker,
Mhm.
there's signatures signed on documents to release information to certain people, and that's a conversation with the client and the entity that they want that information to be shared with. So that's all discussed if it's needed to be discussed if the person is referred through a agency.
That's good to know. Thank you very much. Do you have to be of a certain age to qualify for your services?
I think I answered that before, but so different services, different, but we do have adolescents to adults, and the best way
Mhm,
to learn is just to call and ask. But
mhm,
for our substance use IOP right now, that is for adults, but
mhm.
if you do have an adolescent, we can discuss that. I'm not sure that there's an adolescent IOP going on right now, so that would be a question.
So once they call, they can have some answers in regard to that,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
Okay, that's good to know. And do you have to meet certain criteria in order to get services?
Most most often, it's just that you are a Sussex County resident, and again, your co-occurring illness, as long as it's mild to moderate mental
Mhm.
illness. But that's pretty much the only criteria.
That's good. Okay. And once you're in the process, how long does it take for a person to get approved for the services?
So for recovery support services, we work very quickly with people. Within, a day or two, you can be paired with a recovery coach program. The counseling services, there is an intake. It's a lengthy intake, questionnaire, and then meeting with a counselor. But as far as being approved for services, it's pretty immediate that you would be approved for services. And then the services themselves, depending on what they're actually looking to do, there can sometimes be a waiting list, but we have emergent appointments for people for certain, if there are more emergent needs to place people immediately.
Okay. And let's say if there is a waiting list, I'm just giving an example. If there is a waiting list, like how long does it usually take?
So they're in counseling, they would call, have an appointment with a intake coordinator to take questions. Then they would, within, I would say a week, be set up with a counselor to meet with a counselor to for their initial appointment. And then from there, within that same week, be starting IOP services.
Oh, wow, that is fast.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
that's good to know. That's good to know. Okay, so we have literally 1 minute, and I would like to go over contact information because we really want to make sure everybody know how to reach out. And Mary, I see the contact information for the organization is right there on the screen. I'm gonna remind everyone, all the contact information, website, and link is gonna be below the video. And do you want Mary go over again the contact information in case if we're missing something here? Okay, so all the contact information is gonna be there. And if there is any question in relation to who to contact, is that 24/7 or at what time? Like from what time to time are you guys open?
So our main office is open from not like 8:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. Our recovery center the same. And the addiction helpline, that 844-722-5327 number, that is a 24/7 number.
Okay, thank you very much for that information. So we're gonna stop the recorder right now, but before that, I want to say thank you very much for stopping by and providing all this information. I know a lot of families are gonna benefit from this information. And I also want to remind providers and anybody that might know someone that can benefit from this information. The video is gonna be in the YouTube channel for Family Partners of Maurice and Sussex. So that video is gonna be there. You guys can share if you guys want it. And we're gonna have 20 minutes to go over any questions that you might have. So I'm gonna stop the recorder right now. Thank you very much, Mary, and thank you everyone for
Thank
being
you.
here. Yes, sure.